Active listening. This exercise is from part 2, Skills for Knowing and Living with Others. The purpose of the exercise is for the participants to improve their communication and listening skills. The exercise has 2 parts. Part 1. Ask the participants to sit down back to back in pairs. Give one person in each pair a simple picture or drawing. Now they must describe the picture to their partner, and their partner must try to draw the exact same picture, but without looking or asking questions, simply by listening. Give them about 5 minutes to do that. Then ask them to turn around and compare the pictures. Allow some time for chatting and laughing. Now, ask them to swap roles, but provide them with a more complicated picture. Give them 5 minutes to explain and draw, and then turn around to compare pictures again. Ask the participants to share their thoughts on this task. How did it go? Was it difficult? And why? After the discussion, summarize to the participants that different people have different references. So, if you ask someone to draw a house, they're gonna draw it differently depending on whether they come from Georgia, Zimbabwe, or from Denmark. And this means that communication is sometimes understood differently by the recipient than it was intended by the communicator. And this can sometimes cause conflicts or misunderstandings. Therefore, it's important to communicate clearly and precisely, and to be aware that things are not always understood in the way that you meant it. Part 2. Ask the participants to pair up with a new partner. One will be the listener and one will be the storyteller. The storyteller must now leave the room with you. Ask them to think about something that made them happy during the last week. Maybe they had a fun afternoon with their best friend, or they just passed a difficult exam in school. When they come back, they have 2 minutes to tell their story to the listeners. While they are preparing their stories, go back to the listeners and tell them to be bad listeners. They can have disengaged body language, no eye contact, be looking at their phones, or maybe interrupting. Now, let the storytellers back in and let them tell their stories. Give them about 2 minutes or until it becomes too uncomfortable, and then stop the exercise. Ask a few of the storytellers to share how it felt telling their story. It probably wasn't a good feeling. Also ask some of the listeners to share their experience. Now tell them to swap roles. Take the new storytellers outside, and this time ask them to prepare a story on something that has been difficult in the last week. Maybe they had a fight with their parents, for example. Now tell the listeners to be active listeners. This means to have eye contact, open and engaged body language, to nod and say and maybe ask a few follow-up questions. Provide 2 minutes for the stories to be told. Finalize the exercise by asking the storytellers and the listeners how it felt this time. Allow some time for discussion and reflection on what it means to be a good listener and why it's important. If you want, you can also do a flip chart with advice on how to be a good active listener. And that's it. Enjoy the exercise.